special episode of The Readout tonight with a dire warning for our democracy, where I will lay out the greatest threat to the American democratic experiment in modern times. And it's called Project 2025. With just 99 days till Election Day, and with voting starting a lot sooner than that in some states like Pennsylvania, where early voting begins in September, it is imperative that every American understand what Project 2025 is about and how it would affect every single one of us if it was ever enacted. Tonight is just the first of many nights where we will dig into this dangerous plan. And I really want you to listen, learn, take notes, and share it with everyone you know. So let's start with the basics. This is the 922-page MAGA manifesto. We printed the whole thing out, and it's brought to you by one of the most conservative D.C. think tanks, the Heritage Foundation. This is the culmination of nearly 50 years of work that began during the Reagan administration. Broadly, according to Heritage President Kevin Roberts, this is a Christian nationalist plan to end what he calls the Great Awakening and, quote, rescue our kids, reclaim our culture, revive our economy, and defeat the anti-American left at home and abroad. This manifesto, which they call a book, is a specific roadmap on how to accomplish that by giving a Republican president unprecedented power. They do that by slashing the federal government's footprint, gutting regulations, slashing the money we spend on children, students, the elderly, the environment, education, and reproductive health care. Every single chapter describes in excruciating detail how to reorder our society by dismantling federal agencies and limiting the federal government's ability to help protect you, the American people, from predatory businesses, excessive taxes, poisoned air and water, you name it. Lately, former President Donald Trump and his campaign, fearful of how unpopular Project 2025 is, have claimed they have nothing to do with it.
I don't know what the hell it is. It's Project 25. He's involved in Project. And then they read some of the things, and they are extreme. I mean, they're seriously extreme. But I don't know anything about it. I don't want to know anything about it.
Yeah, but that's not the complete picture. Here is Trump promoting the Heritage Foundation and their little project just 2 years ago.
Heritage does such an incredible job, and they're going to lay the groundwork and detail plans for exactly what our movement will do and what your movement will do when the American people give us a colossal mandate to save America. And that's coming. That's coming.
Here's the other truth. Roughly 140 individuals who worked in Trump's administration are affiliated with Project 2025, including 6 former cabinet secretaries and 4 people who were nominated as ambassadors by Trump. The others were either key figures from his first transition, close Oval Office allies, or mid-level agency officials. There's Russell Vought, Trump's former Office of Management and Budget Director, who wrote Chapter 2 in the section titled Taking the Reins of Federal Government. In this chapter, he lays out how to consolidate power around a president's political vision. He explains how you can bypass Congress and only fund projects that ensure consistency with the president's agenda. He is rumored to be Trump's choice for chief of staff. And according to Politico, he and Trump speak once a month. Vought hopes his close relationship with Trump will elevate Christian nationalism as a focal point of a second Trump administration. Then there's Roger Severino, a former Trump administration DOJ official, who wrote Chapter 14 about the Department of Health and Human Services and how to restrict abortion access across the country. Severino is a dogmatic anti-abortion militant who strongly believes that an America that allows abortion cannot survive.
The federal government has an absolute role in this. There cannot be now 2 Americas. One America where unborn life is protected and another where unborn life is treated as the equivalent of medical waste. Yeah. Right. That is untenable. This has to be settled nationally. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Yeah. We can't have 2 classes of Americans.
In Project 2025, he advocates for using the regulatory powers of the Department of Health and Human Services, the Food and Drug Administration, and the Department of Justice and the National Institutes of Health to end access to mifepristone, prohibit stem cell research, and create, quote, pro-life task force in the White House. There's also Richard Hanania, who helped contribute to Project 2025. Now, he's not a recognizable name, but he's a popular conservative activist with fans like J.D. Vance, Peter Thiel, and Elon Musk, who just so happens to be a noted racist and sexist. The Huffington Post reported that Hanania used a fake pen name to write articles and social media posts that expressed support for eugenics and forced sterilization of, quote, low IQ people, whom he argued were most often black. And he dreamed about a white awakening, which is when whites en masse realize that they are superior to non-whites and that they'd be better off abandoning multiracial democracy for something resembling a whites-only ethno-state. While those guys are cooking up plans for how the government would work and who it would work for, John McEntee, Trump's former body man and former director of his presidential personnel office, is working with Project 2025 to build the enforcement army. He is currently a senior advisor at Project 2025 with the single task of creating a resume database of dedicated MAGA warriors to staff up every agency. Well, the ones that they don't shutter completely, like the Department of Education, on day one. Here's what McEntee wrote when he took the job. Quote, the presidential personnel database will be of extraordinary value for the 47th president because we are doing a lot of the incoming administration's most important work ahead of time, unquote. Then there is Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, a self-described radicalized Republican who is a champion of Kevin Roberts and his plan to turn the Heritage Foundation into the de facto institutional home of Trumpism. Here you see Vance and Roberts together on a panel last year at an event hosted by the Intercollegiate Institute, which is a conservative organization for college students. This particular discussion was about regime change and the future of liberalism. Guess what else? Kevin Roberts has a book coming out in September, and J.D. Vance wrote the foreword to that book, in which he praises Roberts' vision for America. He also wrote, we are now all realizing that it's time to circle the wagons and load the muskets. In the fights that lay ahead, these ideas are an essential weapon. Vance's current political ideology lines up pretty succinctly with that of Project 2025, and his backing of Kevin Roberts, along with his frequent appearances on Tucker Carlson's talk show, might explain why he is on the Trump ticket. This clip from his Senate campaign run might also have helped too.
I think that what Trump should do, like if I was giving him one piece of advice, fire every single mid-level bureaucrat, every civil servant in the administrative state, replace them with our people. Yeah, I mean, I think we got to do the hard work of institution building. And again, I've got friends who are working on this very problem right now, such that if there is a Trump administration round 2 or a DeSantis or a Hawley administration, that we actually have the bureaucracy in place so that that person can govern effectively and not be constantly undercut.
Trump, Vance, future staffers, future administration officials, and all of his former employees support parts or all of Project 2025. Do we really think that they would not implement these ideas if given the chance? Up next, I will detail for you explicitly the things they intend to do, from redirecting how we see ourselves socially, how we build our society, how we get by, and most importantly, and the one I worry about the most, how they will completely end how government functions, leaving a less safe, less prosperous, less free country for the majority of Americans.